Welcome to MotoMouths, the podcast for MotoGP, motorsports, and more. I'm your host, Zoe, and I'd like to take a brief moment of silence for all the wildlife that was sadly and tragically murdered this weekend.
Okay, moment of silence over. I'm your other host, also named Zoe, and you know what? Fuck them hedgehogs.
Okay, first of all, it wasn't just a groundhog. That's what a hedgehog. They would pop the tires. They're spiky.
Get them out there then.
And then a rabbit was also killed at Le Mans.
I did not know about the rabbit.
Yeah, a poor rabbit was struck by the number, I think, 30 BMW car. And it was struck by a car. And the commentary at Le Mans, we'll get into later, it's my favorite thing in the whole wide world because imagine you had to talk for 24 hours straight.
I wouldn't.
About going in circles, couldn't be me, and we love to yap, could not be us. But it's like the middle of the night, this BMW M4 has just struck and killed a rabbit. And I urge everyone to go find this clip. But the commentator is like, well, is the rabbit okay? And they're British, the commentator, the guy goes, I strongly suspect that a rabbit headbutting a BMW M4 would lose, if only briefly.
God, that's so British because it's like not funny.
I think it's hilarious.
It's humorous. I don't think it's funny.
And then the other guy was like, rabbit, rabbit. And the other one said, yes, indeed.
And you know what? That sounds a lot more like the Le Mans coverage I was watching. I don't know if you saw, like, the Spanish commentary just started singing sometime
they
around
do this
midnight.
Every year. Last year, it's like the coordinated. I get it stuck in my head sometimes. They go, le, 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 mo, la, 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 le, 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 mo, la, 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 le, 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 mo. It's like a constant thing. And then this year, they added in like lyrics about coffee.
Because, of course.
Of course. Espresso, macchiato, por favor. That was one of the lyrics.
I'm learning so much sonically.
Yeah, this is a great language learning podcast. You'll get French, you'll get Spanish, some really poor attempts at English.
Yeah, we're not great at that one.
No.
Honestly, I will say I didn't really feel the FOMO of Le Mans this year, which was fun. Like, loved that. My one wish is that Valentino Rossi's car would have finished the weekend. And guess what they didn't do?
Finish the weekend?
I don't even think they made it 7 hours.
No.
They barely made any of it.
Yeah, it was not a good weekend for BMW in general. I don't think any of their cars finished. One hit a rabbit, and then the other two retired.
It was not an awesome weekend for Ferrari number 50 at Le Mans, unfortunately.
No, they were disqualified. We'll get into Le Mans in a second, because we're doing this backwards, and it's making me uncomfortable. It's making my type A personality uncomfortable.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I can't tell at all.
This is off the wheels, and I don't like it. MotoGP.
We were in an off week, and that's fine because I think everybody was very busy with Le Mans and with Montreal for F1 and various other motorsport-related events that we will discuss. But it was a nice, quiet weekend for MotoGP, and by that I mean wasn't quiet at all because everyone is still very much in a tizzy about Toprak Razgatliaglu. And at this point, I'm saying his full name as a flex.
Exactly.
This is a very big deal for me personally.
We spent 10 minutes last podcast figuring it out, and now we will both say Toprak Razgatliaglu correctly.
All the time. British people cower before me because I can actually say it.
Get fucked.
I do want to make a correction, because one of the things we talked about, I think, when we first talked about the Toprak move, is that I think I said one of the big reasons he's like coming over now is the tire change, which there was some news about that this weekend. So I just want to correct that Toprak is coming over to race in MotoGP starting in 2026. MotoGP is not moving to Pirelli's until 2027. So he is going to race on Michelin tires for 1 year, which does feel kind of stupid because I don't think he's raced on Michelin's in a very long time, only to then get back on Pirelli's the next year. Just again, talking about it. I think it really came down to age.
Yeah.
He's getting older.
Shit or get off the pot. He's 29. We say is two 28-year-olds. It's practically
He's ancient.
geriatric.
Get him out of here. Someone call his hospice nurse. Jesus. God, he shouldn't be driving.
Take that man's license away.
Yeah, someone call the DMV. So there was some other news this weekend, speaking of tires. As I just said, MotoGP is switching over to Pirellis in 2027, and World Superbike is switching over to Michelin's in 2027.
Little
So we're doing a real switcheroo.
Little
Exactly.
switcheroo action. Little switcheroo.
Yeah, just some fun, nonsense contracts.
Well, you know what I'll say about this that I've said before and I'll say again. Bring back tire wars. I want tire wars. Let's all just do whatever tires makes us happy and have tire wars and have a lot of fun.
Famously, you and I disagree on this, but I love your energy.
Famously, we disagree, but it would be entertaining.
It'd be rancid looking back at recent history.
Exactly.
One other thing about Toprak that I learned this weekend that I think is very interesting. So Toprak's manager is this guy named, and this one I'm not going to pronounce right, so bear with me. Kimi Antonelli is Toprak's manager, and this guy is like crazy successful in his own right. He is a 5-time super sport world champion, and that is a motorcycle racing series. I don't really know what the comparison is in regards to World Superbike, MotoGP, etc. But he's a 5-time world champion in that. He's Turkish, so that's how he and Toprak know each other. Keenan has a series of Turkish racers that he's like managing as their manager.
Oh my God, he's the Turkish Valentino Rossi?
Just wait, there's more. I'm feeling very Billy Mays. He also manages the Anchu brothers, who are in Moto2 and Moto3. So it's very interesting. All of this to say, when he stopped racing competitively, he was such a famous kind of legend in Turkey that he became a parliamentarian. He became an elected official of the government.
Wayne Gretzky.
No, I literally was going to make this exact comparison. So I was like, so when is Sidney Crosby going to go on his Wayne Gretzky, Kenan Sofuoglu, live, laugh, love parliamentarian journey?
I don't think Sidney Crosby has the people skills to do it. He's
Which is why he should do it. Could you imagine him as like Prime Minister of Canada? I would cry laughing.
I would cry laughing. I do think that Evgeny Malkin should be the Prime Minister of Russia. I think he would fix everything.
Is that a title they have?
Prime Minister?
I thought it was President.
They have both.
Oh, okay. Well, and that's that on Zoe not really knowing how bilateral governments work.
Parliamentary democracies?
Yeah, that one.
Most parliamentary democracies have a president and a prime minister unless they have a monarch as a head of state.
Got it. Learning a lot today.
Because those are parliamentary monarchies. So like Canada and England doesn't, but you know, everyone else does.
But yeah, I just thought it was really funny. I was listening to a podcast and I was like, I'm sorry, what? He's in the government?
Pick one American athlete to run for Senate.
None of them.
You have to pick one.
Simone Biles.
That's exactly who I was going to say. No, you know what? I'm going to go Allie
Or maybe I was going to say Allie
Raceman. I was going to say Allie Raceman.
Because I was like, unfortunately, the way the country is at this point in time, we're not voting a Black woman as successful and as intelligent and as amazing as she is into office.
Allie Raceman, Katie Ledecky.
No, I think here's the thing. Katie Ledecky would do a good job, but only because she's allergic to not doing a good job. I don't think she has like
the passion for it. That's
none of them have the passion for it. Maybe Allie.
I think Allie would be good at it.
They'd all be good at it. They're all so hyper competitive.
Yeah.
You know who'd be the worst American athlete?
Who?
Ryan Lochte.
Yeah. No, Tim Tebow.
I don't know. Gronk.
Yeah.
Gronk.
Yeah.
And you know what? I would take Gronk over RFK Jr. in a heartbeat.
There's also like Lance Armstrong. He'd be really bad at it, but he could also likely do it.
Or would he be good at it within the constraints of our inherently
terrible democracy?
Right. He loves a loophole and he loves to do crime.
Famously, the man who used sports enhancers is anti-trans youth in sports.
It is really crazy because I look back and I'm like, wow, I, as a child, for no real reason, was so personally betrayed that he did that. I was standing there with my cancer bracelets.
Live strong, baby.
Live strong. And I felt personally victimized.
So sad. Should we talk about Mugello?
We should talk about Mugello. So Mugello is happening. Mugello is this weekend. I'm actually very excited for this because I think, as we discussed last week, Pecco seems to have gotten his mojo back
With his BB out.
with his BBO and his,
Boob job.
yeah, and his lip flip and probably his TMJ Botox. Because if there is a man on this grid who has TMJ, it's Pecco.
And me.
Are you a man on the grid?
You know it, baby.
Yeah, let's go. But yeah, Mugello is coming up. Mugello is famously Italy. Historically, this is not a great track for Marc Marquez, just like socially. This is like one of those moments where it's like, I'm about to not be silly, goofy, funny. I'm about to be very serious. Mugello is one of those tracks that back in the day, Mark had to get physical like security members for every single weekend.
Yeesh. Because like, is it like the Valentino?
It is from the effects of 2015. It was a really rough time. And it sounds like that might have kind of dropped away a little bit. He was booed at Mugello and Misano last year, I believe. We'll see how that goes.
Though
But famously, exactly. Say what you're going to say.
Famously, Italian fans, once you start racing for the red team, all sins are forgiven.
Mugello is also one of what you might call like Pecco's home tracks. And there is, scientifically a home track advantage. We saw this with Johan Zarco. We saw this with Frankie in Brazil. Right. Mark does this. Alex does. I'm just naming examples of a scientifically proven thing. Anyway, so I think a lot of people are very much expectant for Pecco to really shine this weekend in a way he hasn't all season. Alex mentioned a couple weeks ago that Grisini is bringing some updates this weekend, so that might change things for him and Furman. It also seems like Fabio Di Gianantonio is doing better on the bike now that he and Pecco are kind of using the same new update of the brake disc that makes them feel a little bit better about the front. So that could change things.
He needs to weigh the front down, otherwise he'll wheelie.
Right, because then he'll break his other collarbone.
And he is a noted wheelie enjoyer.
Who breaks bones. The other thing is that it is now pretty much confirmed that the fastest bike on the grid is not a Ducati anymore. If we're looking at straight line speed, the KTMs are far and away the fastest on a straight line.
Brad Bender win incoming?
Unfortunately, while that would be sick, they do have the most amount of chatter of any of the bikes on the grid, and they do have the most amount of tire deg over a race distance on the grid. So they do kind of get fucked when you go more than one quali lap.
Define chatter.
Chatter is different from vibration, which is, I think, a clearer understanding of like vibration up through the bike.
Okay.
Essentially, something is happening in the front wheel where that starts to like jerk and like shake, and it doesn't hold grip well.
Fascinating.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's one of those things that riders all uniformly call chatter, and there's no real documented like this is what chatter is. It's just like a noise and a sound and a gesture that they make, and you're like, chatter.
Vibe.
Yeah, truly vibes. And that's on being polyglots. So I think what we'll see, and this is like a broader prediction, is I think we'll see Italians towards the front. I think from a quality perspective, we'll see the KTMs up there, but I don't think we can expect or anticipate them to like stay there in any way over a race distance. We did see Pedro Acosta do well for the sprint distance last weekend, so I could be totally wrong. I'm open to that possibility. We'll see. But here's my prediction.
Hit me.
Mark has only won at this track once before.
Okay.
And do you remember when we were talking a couple of months ago after Coda, where we were kind of talking about maybe the tracks that he is quote unquote famous for winning at, he won't be able to do that with the Ducati. So I think this is one of those situations where the track that he is not famous for at
He's going to do well
aligned
at.
very well with the bike. And so I think he can kind of turn that into something.
Okay.
Mark is also famous for adaptation, much discussed. And I think if he gets his quality shit in line, which is a huge ask, he's really bad at that. I think Mark P1 is totally reasonable.
Okay.
Watch this space. I could be like, he's going to crash out on Sunday. Like, who the fuck knows?
Is that your prediction?
My prediction is P1. For P2, I'm going to go with Pecco.
Okay.
I think this is the weekend things lock in for Pecco, and I really hope that's true because I want that for him. And then I'm going to go with a Frankie P3 because I think he's had some really great last couple of weeks where he's been very, very close. If Alex is Mr. P2, Frankie is very soon going to be considered Mr. P4.
And your Fail King?
I think I'm going to go with a Fabio Quartararo Fail King. I
Okay.
think Yamaha is going to let him down.
All right. Okie dokie, Artichoke.
What about you?
Great question. I'm going to do a P3, Alex Marquez, P2, Pecco Bagnaia, P1, Mark Marquez, and Fail King. I'm going to go with Frankie Morbidelli.
Okay. Frankie. Honestly, I feel like both of us are equally likely to be right about things.
Sure. So I guess we'll see what happens in Italy.
Italia. Wow, that was bad.
Sorry to Zoe's ancestors.
Should we move on to the great wide world of motorsport?
We shall. There was indeed a race on Sunday in Montreal.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
I had a friend staying with me this weekend, Taylor,
Mhm.
shout out, who came in for my birthday and was such like a lovely, lovely weekend. And I was like, listen, sorry, if this was not happening live at 1 p.m. for me, I would put the race aside and we would just hang out. But it is happening live at 1 p.m. So I do have to watch a race on Sunday. And I was like, listen, normally Montreal is a pretty exciting race. So like, I know you're not a racing fan, but just it's like 2 hours and then we're going to go jump in the lake and it'll be fine. Guess what wasn't exciting for about an hour and 50 minutes of those 2 hours?
I was so annoyed at this.
I was so bored.
How dare you, 20 fuck-ass drivers, make a mockery out of my favorite batshit racetrack? How dare you?
Yeah, it was really sad. I was ready for another classic Montreal.
I'm so annoyed because it's usually a banger and these drivers just are boring. They're boring.
They were just in line the whole time.
None of them can drive. No one has fun anymore. Daniel Ricciardo isn't even there to be sexy. Like, it sucked.
Right. It was a rough one. It was boring for 67 of the 70 laps. Right. And then it was not boring for one, and then it was boring for two more.
Correct. But that one lap 67.
I'll be eating off of that for a month.
My favorite lap of the entire season.
Honestly, yeah. It was good. It was real good. So Zoe, what happened?
Lando Norris fucked it again.
Fork found in kitchen.
Lando Norris went for a gap that did not exist. Lando Norris crashed into the back of his teammate for no good goddamn reason. Lando Norris can't drive. Fork found in kitchen. Literally, like 1 or 2 laps before, the F1 commentary team was saying, you know, it's so interesting. Lando's race engineer has really had to coach him through this race and through qualifying and like say
multiple things throughout the whole weekend.
Multiple things, like through qualifying, through the race, like had to coach him on, you know, overtaking, coach him on gear changing, coach him on
the PU,
pushing, the PU, everything. And then literally not even a second later, he fucks it because he can't drive. He can't drive. Also, apparently Nico Rosberg, there's been some like chatter.
This was on my notes I wanted to talk about. Nico Rosberg took a selfie, which hopefully you guys all know about Nico Rosberg curse.
Selfie curse,
the selfie curse, exactly. Nico Rosberg, who condescends to come to maybe 3, maybe 4 F1 races a season. When he does, he always takes a selfie somewhere before the race. And every single time, without fail, whoever or whatever he takes a selfie in front of has a horrible Sunday. Over the weekend, he took a selfie in front of the start-finish straight, which you could make the argument had a horrible Sunday.
I was also going to say that there's been a lot of chatter about how Lando Norris is kind of the only heavily quote unquote championship caliber driver, quote, that doesn't have like a mentor, which I find very silly because he kind of had Jenson Button coming up. And also his dad is like the 100th richest man in England. I think he could buy a mentor of some sorts. But apparently Nico reached out to him to say like, hey, if you ever need any help or advice, I'm here. And he left him on red.
Here's the thing about Nico Rosberg. 1, I don't think I'd want him as my mentor because he runs his mouth. 2, I would not ghost him offering to be my mentor because he runs his mouth.
So true. Such a great point. I do think that he gives valuable information. I believe Daniel Ricciardo went on his podcast and he just told him like every single setup secret he ever knew just for free because he believed in Daniel.
Also, again, Nico Rosberg is one of those people, like we've said this before. I don't always agree with everything he says because that would be weird if I did. But what he has to say, I think, comes from a place of like true love of the game and like
True wisdom.
knowledge.
This is
Yes.
a second generation champion. There are I think he is the only
I think so.
father son champion.
It's really interesting because I feel like you could make the argument that Nico lives in like a very not similar because I don't think he and Valentino have a lot like directly in common, but I think he and Valentino had the opportunity to make similar impact on their sport at the same time.
Mhm.
And Valentino did by building the academy and kind of creating this ecosystem that like lifted young Italian racers up and like supported them. And Nico, again, like kind of to his credit, like I don't think this is inherently a bad thing, was like, I'm gonna go be a wife guy and have my daughters and have a sick fucking life.
And be a YouTuber and not get the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, that's not great. Don't love that. It's weird because I kind of really see your point of like he does seem like a mentor without a mentee. Like he seems like that guy who would love to like really be there for the young generation of kids coming up. And I'm also not shocked at all that he offered his support to Lando Norris, who, being completely honest, is dealing with a lot of the same things Nico dealt with coming up with the whole Brittany of it all and like really being villainized for the way he responded to things, like his emotions, like reactions to those kind of things. I totally see why he reached out to Lando.
Yeah, I mean, there are some stark differences. Like, number one, Nico Rosberg can drive and is,
Listen, I was trying to be
intelligent.
nice.
Intelligent and like can race and is a multi-winner and was a champion. And Nico Rosberg served so much cunt this weekend. That's the one thing that he will come do. He will come serve
You can
cunt.
count on him for that.
You count on it. He served cunt directly in Danica Patrick's face. That's somebody who would run for office and be fucking awful as an American.
Oh my God. Don't give her the idea.
I know it could actually happen and it would be horrible.
No.
She called Montreal a pretty easy track. She's a NASCAR driver. I'm not one to like compare disciplines because they're all uniquely challenging. But
the thing about NASCAR is that it's challenging for a lot of reasons. It's not challenging because it's an oval.
right. So I don't think she really has any room to speak on that or speak in general.
No.
It's
Hate her.
frustrating whenever she's on because there are so many wonderful and wonderfully qualified women in motorsport who have had incredible careers in motorsport that could talk about racing intelligently. And I'm not going to deny the impact that Danica Patrick had on NASCAR and motorsport. She is my first introduction to motorsport way, way, way back in the day. Like before I knew anything about motorsport, I knew that Danica Patrick was the only racer that was a woman in NASCAR.
Unfortunately, Danica Patrick is like the shining star of like that era of feminism in sport. And it served a purpose at the time, but it is by no means serving a purpose now. And it's incredibly frustrating to have her be one of the most prominent, not just women in motorsports associated with F1, but one of the most prominent American women associated with motorsport.
One of the most prominent Americans.
If I watched Sky TV F1 coverage, I'd be like, yeah, Americans are fucking stupid. Get a load of this bitch. She believes 5G is eating our brains. Like, I shit you not.
I believe 5G is eating her brain. I don't know about anyone else, but I think it's her brain. Some other notable things that happened this weekend. Lewis Hamilton killed a groundhog. Very sad.
He did do that. And he was very upset about it too. Like, not that I thought he wouldn't be, but he was like genuinely very upset about it.
Say what you will, that man's true to his veganism.
I just forget he's vegan. And then I'm like forcibly reminded. Sorry, but there's like only so much information I can keep in my head at any given. And apparently, Lewis Hamilton's veganism is not one of them.
Let's say our predictions real quick, because I think that'll inform the rest of our commentary. You said P1 George.
Wait, I did?
Yep. P2 Oscar,
Wow.
P3 Max,
Damn.
Fail King Ollie Behrman, and then
Okay.
I said P1 Kimmy. And you know what? I stand by it. I was damn
Yeah,
close.
you were.
I
You were.
was
I stand by
damn
that.
close. P2 Max, got it. P3 George, I just flip flopped the Mercedes. And then I said Fail King Fernando, reverse curse. The man got points. Good job, Grandpa.
Fernandois.
Fernando Alonso, we're going to talk about something that's really true and close to my heart really quick. Fernando
Please.
Alonso rocked up this weekend with the hottest fucking mustache I've ever seen beyond Daniel Ricciardo's face.
I was about to say.
I can't talk about this because I'll say some things that will get me arrested in several states.
Yeah, and let's avoid that. But rest assured, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Oh, yeah. Kimi Antonelli,
Very sweet, very lovely.
very excited for this boy to.
And everyone was saying, oh my God, like you can go drinking here. Like you can go celebrating because the age of
This-
like drinking is 18 in Canada. And he goes,
Sorry,
well, I
it's
have
not.
exams. Isn't it? I thought it was,
No,
is
it's
it 16?
It's 19.
Wow, I really thought it was 18. Wow, learning a lot about international politics here, guys.
It's 19.
So he couldn't even go drink.
No, he said, I can't show up drunk to take my exams.
My mom would be mad. And yeah, listen, his mom would be mad at him.
His mom would be mad at him. Kimmy, when you're older and you're taking classes in college,
You think he's going to college?
May I suggest to you that you do tequila shots before a presentation in an art history class? Just a
He's
suggestion.
not going to college.
Just a suggestion. Do with that what you will.
What I'm going to do with that is that he's not going to college. There's no fucking way.
What finals did you show up for, drunk?
None of them. Because I have
Pussy.
anxiety.
Pussy.
Wow. I guess you hate people who aren't perfectly neurotypical, huh?
Yeah, sorry. How dare
Anyways.
Lando Norris fuck his car up because of mental health?
Mental health. I can't believe we haven't quoted Lando Norris at least once so far. Mental health.
Mental health. You know
You
what?
guys.
He is advocating for mental health because him fucking it did improve my mental health significantly.
No, I do feel a lot better about life. Gonna be so
well,
honest.
Beatren, who needs her?
Yeah, like Xanax on a flight? No. Lando Norris in lap 67 of Montreal on repeat.
There was a very sweet moment on video that was posted to Instagram after the race of Kimi like giving his car a little kissy and saying like, good job. She always does well for me. And I was like,
Very cute.
very cute.
I also saw he said something about Bono because he has Lewis Hamilton's old engineer, Bono. There was a very sweet photo of them hugging, like after they did the champagne thing as a team. And apparently Kimmy said to someone that they get along, but he's like, I'm a lot more, like emotional and kind of like touchy-feely. And so I had to, get to know Bono. But now he's great and like we give each other hugs. And I was like, get this boy a dad. He's already got like 4.
Give him more
of them.
More fathers. He doesn't have enough.
He's got his actual dad who loves him to bits. He's got Valentino Rossi, who is flopping his way through Le Mans, deadbeat dad style. He's got Toto Wolff, who's
Questionable
honestly
at
should be
best.
investigated by Childhood Services.
Called defects.
And then he's got Bono, who I think is the guy who's really in it. Like,
yeah,
I think they got something going and it's very sweet.
Toto did say, like, your dad is very proud on the radio. And I was like,
yeah.
We haven't said in a while, but shout out to dads. Core
Shout
theme
out
of the
to
podcast.
dads. This is a pro some dad podcast.
Not all dads.
Not all
But
dads.
some.
Hashtag not all dads. Speaking of dads,
Sure.
Max Verstappen.
Oh, yes. Max Verstappen, who came P2, famously said, I'm not going to the fucking F1 movie premiere. I've got a little baby girl at home. And
guess where he
straight
didn't
off.
go?
Home. He went to Spa to do testing.
Yes, he did get, I think, in a GT3 car.
He
Max
does
is
it for the love
giving-
of the game. Also in the great wide world of motorsport, to briefly dip back into the Le Mans of it all, Robert Kubica won Le Mans. I think Robert Kubica is the greatest what if story in all of sports, probably.
Well, you know who Kubica's teammate was back in the day in F1?
George Russell.
George Russell. on Williams. And so they had a great weekend, that team.
Also had his first race win in Montreal.
The George Russell, Robert Kubica Williams team lineup from like 20, what, 18?
19.
Had a great weekend.
Robert Kubica had a fantastic weekend. I believe he DNF'd at Le Mans 5 years ago, and this year was kind of his redemption story. He was one of the greatest, I think, what ifs in all of sports. Truly just like an incredible sportsman and Polish. So shout out to the Poles, my people.
I do actually have another thing I want to bring up for the great wide world of motorsport.
Yes.
Our girl, Abbi Pulling.
Abbi Pulling
is employed.
We love this for her. It was announced this week that Abbi Pulling has signed as Nissan's Formula E test and rookie driver. This is incredible.
This is like the biggest success story coming out of F1 Academy thus far.
Yes, 100%. I did comment on, I think, one of the announcements. I was like, put Abbi in the car. And some fuck-ass guy commented, like, she doesn't qualify. Bitch, I don't care. Put Abbi in the car.
Put Abbi in the car. I don't care. She's going to do great. The thing is, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the big names coming out of those early seasons of F1 Academy are being financially compensated for their time like Abbi has just been confirmed to be doing. Because this is the success is, and people get very F1 pilled about this as like, if you're really only an F1 fan, it's easy to like focus in on that. Obviously, the dream story is Abbi Pulling getting in an F1 car and like doing well, or Dorian Penn getting in an F1 car. Honestly, any of these women getting the chance to succeed in a arena that we all know that they could. Unfortunately, that's like a pie in the sky situation right now. And so the success story, the dream that women coming into motorsports are aspiring to more realistically is being paid for their work. And that's what's happening with Abbi right now. And that's what is so, so exciting, because making this normalized, having teams understand that there is a whole entire 50% of the population that is untapped for talent in motorsport is huge. That is a huge talent pool that motorsport teams just seem to completely ignore.
There are women who are in motorsport with F1 teams as test drivers or, diversity ambassadors. There's Jess Hawkins with Aston Martin. There's Jamie Chadwick with Williams. But they have additional responsibilities within the teams that they are not solely test drivers. This is a young woman who is incredibly talented getting to drive and test and solely drive and test. She is not...
Her job isn't to be, here is our woman on the team. Her job is to be part of the team and help develop a car. And it's very exciting. Like, it genuinely really is. And I was just very excited to see it and to talk about it briefly.
Yeah.
We're big Abbi Pulling girls.
Abbi Pulling,
Abbi Pulling, we're pulling for you.
We are pulling for you, Abbi Pulling. So I think that brings us to the grid as ... which, for the uninitiated, is a moment in our podcast where we categorize a handful of riders and drivers from across the great wide world of motorsport as a person, place, thing, concept, idea. And in honor of Kimi Antonelli not being able to drink, and this being our 21st episode, I thought we could do alcoholic beverages.
Oh, sick. I love this.
Would you like to go first?
I would love to go first. Thank you. I will be talking about Pecco and Frankie. I think Frankie is a communal tray of Jello shots.
I love a Jello shot.
I love a Jello shot. And guess what? They're for the community. They're how you make friends. They're how you get to know the bartender. They're a nice, sweet, fun little time. And that's Frankie. Frankie loves that shit.
They're how you bribe your college classmates into participating in Spirit Week activities.
Exactly. They're how you get things done.
They are my drink of choice.
Pecco, here's what I think about Pecco. I think when Pecco started drinking, he had a lot of like anxiety about being perceived as a novice drinker. And so I think he just always ordered an old fashioned. However, he is a Long Island iced tea kind of guy. Let that boy go ham with a Long Island.
Yeah.
Or a very crisp Chardonnay. Those are his. That's him. He's also quick, just fun addition. His wife, Domitia, I think she's an IPA girl.
Love that for her. I will be talking about Fernando Alonso first. Fernando Alonso is sex on the beach.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to add further to that. He is. And Kimi Antonelli is a virgin strawberry daiquiri.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I also could see him being like a mojito and not knowing that that's actually the worst thing a bartender could hear.
Yeah, he's a virgin strawberry daiquiri, but he is the virgin strawberry daiquiri that the waiter gave my sister at my 14th birthday party at a hibachi steakhouse that wasn't actually virgin. And she drank half of it before saying, "This tastes kind of funny," and then immediately fell asleep for the rest of the night.
And in some ways, that bartender is Toto Wolff.
Yes. Well, I think that brings us to the end of the podcast.
One of these days, Toto is going to sue us.
Hopefully not. Next week, we will discuss the events of Mugello, preview Spa, I think we're there.
Austria, yeah.
And then, do some other stuff, I'm sure. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, rate, review, share, comment, all of the mechanisms that help us grow the podcast. We really appreciate it. We love it. It fills me with joy every single time. And then make sure to come hang out with us on YouTube, Instagram, Threads, maybe. We're working on it, and TikTok. And let's keep chatting soon.
We'll see you there.
Bye.
Okay, bye.